Hi there, my name is Dr. Katerina Bulat and I'm a chiropractor at Danforth East Wellness. I work with a lot of musicians. In this video I'll be talking about the relationship between stress and posture, how to actually sit and stand properly, and then how proper posture actually affects your volume, tone, your dexterity and ease of playing as a musician. So, stress and posture. When we were developing as humans, stress meant that we were in big trouble. So it's the real fight or flight response. We're going to get eaten by something. So what do you need to protect? You need to protect your jugular, your neck, and your intestines, because if those get attacked, we're in big trouble. So what we do when we're under stress is a throwback way back to then, which is to bring your head forward, bring your shoulders up, drop in, and curl up so you protect your intestines as well. So it's all of this forward-facing protection mechanisms. When the brain senses that we're in this position, it says, oh, we're under attack, it's bad. And so the body scrunches up more. And your brain says, oh, you're scrunched up, we must be in trouble. And it becomes this crazy feedback loop where it just expands and expands. So we want to break that cycle of body and brain expanding in this contracted position. So the way to do that is to take on the proper posture, which tells the brain to stand down. The trouble is, right now, we're dealing with all of technology that tells us to bring our arms forward to look at phones. We're looking at laptops, so we're looking forward and down. Everything is encouraging this forward posture. So before we even get out the gate, our bodies are in that stress posture. So we're walking around generally, because of the way we live in our world, in already a heightened state without even realizing it. So I'm going to bring in my friend Rosanna Lynn Lapointe. She's a Baroque violinist and the founder of a Baroque ensemble called Resonance. And she's going to help me demonstrate to you what a good posture is and how to achieve it. Because everybody says, here's posture, you got to have good posture, and nobody actually talks about how to attain it. All right, here we go. Here we are, back with Rosanne as I had introduced her. And because it's COVID, we are very much appropriately masked up to bring you all of this information. For sitting, we have 4 important things to remember. We have your feet and your knees. So what we want is the feet to be flat. You want your hips at slightly above 90 degrees, which they are. So no crossing your ankles, no crossing your feet. Keep them about the hip width apart. That's super important. So that's number 1. Second tip, we want a neutral pelvis. So, Rosanne, sit like you would in front of the TV for me. Yeah, not so much. So, what we want to find is where that body is neutral, so we're not hyperextended in the back and we're not slumped. So we want everything right in the center. A nice way to think about that is about 90 degrees between the body and your hip. So we're looking at this angle being at 90 degrees. So if she slumps for me, then we end up with not 90 degrees in here. And if you arch for me, that's also not 90 degrees. So, feet is 1, your back and your pelvis is the 2nd. The other interesting one is about your rib cage, and we want to stack your rib cage over your hips and pelvis. The last one is really important. We want to take these ears and stack them over the whole thing. So, we actually want this to come back a little more. So when we start from the bottom for sitting, we are talking about your feet, hip width apart, flat, and not crossed. We have 90 degrees between the body and the hips, and it's neutral back, flat back, not arched, not bent. And then we stack the rib cage on top of that and make sure we finish with those ears over that rib cage. All right, standing. So, Razan, can you please stand up for me? Thank you. Woohoo! And we're still in camera range. Let's go down a little bit more. There we go. So, the important thing for standing, let's get you sideways. Let's stand improperly, Razan. Yay. So, I'm good at that. With sitting, we have 4 pointers. With standing, we have 3 pointers. So you want your feet just at, again, hip-width apart. An important part is your knees. We want them to release. So they're a little soft, not like you're riding a horse, and not extended. We want them released. Then again, we want that rib cage to come on top of that, so it's stacked. And again, those ears over those shoulders and over the rib cage. So we're stacking head over shoulders, over hips, over knees. Now let's see how that looks from the front. So Razan in poor posture. Right. So we have head a little forward, shoulders are up. We don't want that. So we relax the knees, we stack the rib cage, and we lift that head back. So we have a nice neck, nice shoulders, and everything is stacked properly. So that's how you have good posture for sitting and standing. Okay, so we're back with Razan to show us how playing with poor posture versus playing with proper posture can affect your sound, your tone, the way that the ease happens with your body. So if we take an exaggerated posture, just so you can have it through the video, of a poor posture first. So Razan is just going to slump, and a lot of the times with violinists, there's this popping out of these shoulders. So let's just do something basic. So you can see when she's playing that all of these muscles in the shoulder and through her arms are working really hard. So over time that can lead to a lot of injuries. So not only is it a problem for the sound and the tone and the quality, but we have an injury potential happening here. So if we release the knees, put the pelvis in a neutral position, stack the rib cage, and bring the head back. There we go. And now we try again. So what we notice is that we have a larger volume of sound. It's on pitch and on tone. It was a lot easier for Razan to move and work. And if she had a quicker piece, we would actually see that the dexterity was easier and that there wouldn't be as much tension in this arm. So that's how it is affected by standing posture. Now, a caveat for that is Razan doesn't have flat feet, but I have even had people who have pronation and flat feet, and even having a pair of inserts or shoes will massively affect your sound because it's all about stacking it properly. So another thing to experiment with at home is which shoes make you sound better. So strangely enough, even that can make a massive impact. So if you're playing a concert, your footwear can really impact your sound and you don't actually realize it. All right, let's do the same thing sitting.
Can we go shoe shopping?
Yeah. Not that I'm encouraging everyone to buy shoes, but it's not so bad. All right, so same thing sitting. So let's start with cranky posture. You can choose to either be hyperextended or slumpy, or we can do both and show how horrible they both are.
Let's do both.
So here's extended. All right, and here's slumpy. especially with Slumpy, how much that caused a lot more tension on those notes. Not so great. All right, so feet again are flat, knees are hip width apart. We have the hip in neutral position, stack the rib cage, and remember those ears. All right, here we go. And if you don't believe me, let's do this interesting thing. Let's have you start off in good posture and then slump halfway through, and you're gonna see how that shifts. Okay, so remember your setup. Yep, there we go. Okay, and then we're gonna go neutral and then arch. So with the arching, that's the reason why a lot of people fool themselves that they're having the correct posture, because it didn't change that much. There's a slight tensioning at the top end. It's not as obvious with respect to the music, that change, but what did change was the tension in her arms. So if you go back and rewind, you'll see that her body position is very fluid at the beginning, and as she arches up, everything twists in terms of her hands, her arms, and where the sound is anchored from. So a lot of people realize, well, I'm not slumping, I'm fine. But it's this hyperextension that a lot of people get tricked with, because they can fool themselves for a long time because the sound isn't that different, but the body position is. So Razan, after doing the different postures, can you tell me how it feels in your body in terms of the three different ways of holding your body?
I actually noticed a lot less tension in my neck and my shoulder. And then on this side, the left side, I noticed that my hand just naturally wanted to do a sort of very gentle, loose vibrato. Whereas when I was tense, it just didn't feel really even possible to do much.
Nice.